Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will show you how I paint granite stone effect using this model. I primed the piece in black after removing the excess material at the bottom. Using some acrylic tubes from Artesa, I will mix and match these colors to create different shades of gray. My paint tools will be an old toothbrush, a small brush, and a larger one. Mixing a dark gray color, I simply applied the paint on the toothbrush and with my thumb started flickering it all around the piece. I proceeded with a lighter gray. Using the same color I just used, I add on the old toothbrush some paint and in a brushing motion, focus on the raised areas. Another advantage of using a toothbrush is you can tap on the model, as you see here, with paint and it creates a texture. It's a bit different than when you dry brush using a regular brush, because you cannot get this effect with a regular brush. I tend to use a hard toothbrush to prevent the bristles from bending too much, which helps in this case. The end results solely depend on how happy you are with it and how far you want to take it. Using the same exact color, watered down to an airbrush consistency, I went around and gave it a light thin coat to unify all those other colors that I just applied. By adding some white to that same gray, I went around and sprinkled all around in random spots, because from this moment on, I started building up all the gradients. Each color after that, I just brightened it up by adding more white and applied it in the same way. As I add more lighter tones, spackling down the paint, I focus more on the raised areas, getting closer and closer to the middle of the details, such as the nose, the forehead, the lips, and the chin. Layering up the colors, I just added more white each time. Going back with the original color, I diluted it and washed the whole piece. The reason I do this is because it unifies all those other colors I've already applied and makes everything look softer. With straight white, I'm gonna apply it on the most raised areas in a brushing motion. You can also call it dry brushing. If you've never tried dry brushing with a toothbrush, it's a different experience. It definitely helps stay in line with what you're trying to dry brush, and it doesn't leak over to other parts of the model. This is why I like using this tool for this technique. With black, I went in and applied it to all the places where there are shadows. This application helps bring out all the other gradient colors I applied previously. With that same black, I created somewhat of a wash by diluting it thinner and applied it to create some shadows under the areas like the nose and the eyes. Now that I've shown you how to use the brushes, I will show you how to paint this effect using an airbrush. For this demonstration, I'm going to use this range of colors from AK Interactive. I will apply them in the order as you see here, from left to right. As the model, I carved out a tombstone out of insulation foam and primed it black. Beginning with our base coat, dark gray, I set up my air compressor to 8 psi. This will allow the paint to come out spotted without having too much air coming out through the airbrush, and gives me the texture that I'm looking for, which is granite. So if you're going to use an airbrush, I recommend keeping your PSI between 5 and 10, no more than that. Moving forward with the other colors, I will apply them in the same way as this one. If you're new to airbrushing, a little tip that might help is, for this technique, as opposed to press and hold, just tap on the trigger to be able to get that quick splash. Otherwise, you'll get too much paint come out, and too much coverage will take away from the effect of randomness. The key here is to keep it random. This will help you produce a more organic and natural appearance. I want to quickly show you how to dilute the paint for this effect to help the airbrush give you that spotted texture. Only add 2 to 3 drops of water. It will help the paint dilute. Of course, you need to mix it, but it'll keep it thick enough in conjunction to the low PSI to really give that spotted effect that you want, as shown here on my hand. A useful tip is to keep the airbrush far away from the model. This way, when the paint reaches the model, it's more spread and unevenly applied. If you get too close, you're just gonna have a blob of paint, and that would deter from the effect that you want to get, which is in this case a granite stone. I also applied a dark sea gray because this has a slight brown to it, and it helps break away from the monotone colors, as well as give some texture and some weathering. With very little black, I applied it in selected areas around the piece, keeping the airbrush further away from the model. Using white straight out of the tube, just as you might have imagined, we apply the paint right on the toothbrush. Rub the paint to spread it evenly and remove most of it, and in a brushing motion, aka dry brushing, we start edge highlighting and give more texture. For this effect, I like using acrylic paints from tubes because they have an agent in the tube that helps the paint stay wet a little longer as opposed to the acrylic paints from the bottles. This gives the advantage of being able to have an extra 1 or 2 seconds to smear and smooth in those colors with your fingers or with a brush. Going back to the original color, I diluted it and also gave this piece a wash. Now it was time to darken the recessed areas with some black. Further touch-ups were made by diluting black and just trying to create some shadowy areas and indentations rocks usually have. Some more edge highlighting in selected areas. And just like that, we're finished. Regardless which tools you use to apply your paints, you will still get really good results, and they work on any scale. I know it's a lot easier to just dry brush all the colors in, but this is another way to expand your knowledge and get really good results. There is more of a realism doing this, even though it takes longer, but it's still a lot of fun. I decided to make a small little museum scene and place this guy on a diorama just for visual interest because I thought it was fun and it reminded me of the movie A Night at the Museum. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for watching.